The Earth turns silently beneath the vastness of space, a fragile sphere bathed in blue and green, floating like a miracle among the stars. Yet, hidden beneath its surface lies a story that refuses to die, a story that once defined the fate of every living creature that walked, crawled, swam, and flew. For millions of years, dinosaurs ruled this world, shaping landscapes, commanding ecosystems, and leaving behind echoes that still reverberate in stone. Imagine it now. The first heartbeat of a hatchling echoes in sterile laboratories where human hands guide destiny. Glass enclosures filled with the soft hum of machines replace the swamps and jungles of the Mesozoic. In the quiet flicker of fluorescent light, life returns in forms unseen for 65 million years. It is both magnificent and terrifying, for the creatures that once towered over our ancestors may soon walk beside us again. Their reign ended in fire, an asteroid plunging from the heavens, erasing them in a cataclysm that seemed final. But what if endings are never truly final? What if the past can be summoned back into the present? A whisper begins in the halls of science, a daring idea to reach across the gulf of extinction and touch life long gone. We stand in an age where knowledge bends the boundaries of creation. The cracking of an ancient shell, the spark of cells reawakened, the trembling breath of a creature thought lost forever. This is the dream that humanity dares to hold. The rebirth of dinosaurs. But before we step into this future, we must remember the ancient past. Long before humans emerged, long before even the first mammals looked up at the sky in fear, dinosaurs shaped the very rhythm of existence. Their size, their power, their diversity made them masters of Earth. Now, in the 21st century, humanity attempts to master them. We no longer dig just for bones and imprints. We dig for the code of life itself, locked in fragments of DNA, preserved by chance in amber, in ice, in the fossilized remains of giants. The opening chapter of this story is not one of spectacle, but of silence. Scientists in white coats lean over microscopes, decoding genetic strings, piecing together fragments like ancient poetry. Each sequence of DNA is a verse in the hymn of resurrection. Yet the more they uncover, the more they confront the enormity of what they attempt. Nature does not give up its secrets easily, and extinction is meant to be permanent. Still, humanity persists. The idea is too powerful, too alluring. The dream of seeing a triceratops grazing, of watching a brachiosaurus lift its neck into the canopy, of hearing the thunderous roar of a tyrannosaurus. It stirs something primal within us. Awe, fear, reverence. We long to see the rulers of Earth restored, even if it means walking the thin line between brilliance and madness. The rebirth of dinosaurs is not only a scientific pursuit, but a cultural one. From myths to movies, from ancient cave drawings to modern blockbusters, the image of dinosaurs has haunted our imagination. They are symbols of nature's power, of time's immensity, of life's fragility. To bring them back is to bring back a part of ourselves we never knew was missing. Yet, as the curtain rises on this new era, questions overshadow the wonder. Can we control what we create? Should we even attempt it? Every breakthrough carries its price, and the cost of resurrection may be heavier than we can bear. In the shimmering glow of incubators, as claws form and scales harden, we are forced to confront not just the creatures of the past, but the consequences of our choices in the present. This is not a tale of fantasy anymore. It is a story unfolding in real laboratories, among scientists who hold the keys to life and extinction. It is a story of ambition, of desire, of hubris. It is a story where the earth itself is no longer the only author of creation, where humanity writes the next chapter. The world awaits, holding its breath. Forests whisper as though sensing what is to come. Oceans churn as if remembering ancient predators. The sky stretches endlessly above, knowing it once shadowed wingspans wider than any bird alive today. Nature waits, patient but watchful, as humanity prepares to turn back the clock. And so the journey begins, not with the crash of an asteroid, but with the quiet hum of machines and the beating of a tiny heart within an egg. From extinction rises possibility. From death emerges rebirth. The dinosaurs are coming back. The age of giants began more than 200 million years ago, in a world unrecognizable to us. The continents were fused into a single vast landmass called Pangaea, surrounded by endless oceans that shimmered under a different sky. Volcanoes rumbled, the air was thick with carbon dioxide, and forests of towering conifers stretched for miles. It was here, in this raw and restless world, that dinosaurs first emerged, small and fragile, yet destined to dominate Earth in ways no creature ever had before. Time moved in rhythms beyond human imagination. Millions of years passed like the blink of an eye in the planet's long memory. From their humble beginnings, dinosaurs grew into forms that defied belief. Some became the size of buses, others as small as chickens. Their bodies adapted to every niche. Some thundered across plains on pillar-like legs. Others raced swiftly on 2 feet, eyes sharp, claws ready. Some soared with wings of skin and feather, while others ruled the oceans with jaws lined in serrated teeth. They were not just animals. They were a symphony of evolution, experimenting with life on a scale the world had never seen. To walk through their age would have been to step into a dream of giants. Imagine herds of Brachiosaurus, their necks sweeping high above the trees, stripping leaves from the tallest branches. Imagine triceratops locking horns in thunderous duels, their cries echoing across plains. Imagine the shadow of a tyrannosaurus rex falling across the ground, each step shaking the earth like distant drums. This was their world, a living stage where survival and dominance played out in endless cycles. Yet it was not only size that defined them. Dinosaurs were creatures of astonishing diversity. They came in colors we can only guess at, perhaps striped, speckled, or bright with display patterns meant to attract mates or scare rivals. Some grew feathers long before birds existed, proof of an evolutionary thread that would stretch all the way to the sparrows outside our windows today. Some laid eggs in intricate nests, cared for their young, and lived in herds with social structures that rivaled the complexity of mammal groups. The age of giants reshaped the earth itself. Great herds churned the land, creating pathways through forests and plains. Predators kept populations in balance, driving prey to evolve sharper senses, swifter legs, and greater intelligence. Ecosystems thrived under their presence, each species locked in an intricate web of survival. Even the atmosphere bore their mark, for plants consumed more carbon dioxide under the heavy grazing of dinosaurs, shaping the climate in ways subtle yet profound. For over 160 million years, dinosaurs were the undisputed rulers of the planet. During this span, entire mountains rose and crumbled, seas opened and closed, climates shifted from sweltering heat to icy cold, yet the dinosaurs endured. Their reign was longer than the entire history of mammals, longer than the history of primates, longer than the history of humans by magnitudes beyond comprehension. When measured against them, we are newcomers, children of yesterday. To think of their age is to confront the immensity of time itself. Our lives are fleeting, but dinosaurs lived in a span where generations upon generations passed uncounted, leaving their bones behind as whispers in the rock. Each fossil we uncover is not merely a skeleton, but a story from an age of giants, a story frozen in stone waiting to be told. But they were not invincible. The very power that shaped them was also their greatest vulnerability. The larger they grew, the more they depended on the stability of their environment. When climates changed, some species vanished. When continents drifted apart, ecosystems shifted, isolating creatures and forcing them into new struggles. And when the final blow came a rock from the heavens, it was the smaller creatures, the adaptable survivors, that endured. Yet for those millions of years before their fall, dinosaurs embodied the grandeur of life itself. They were proof that evolution has no limit but imagination. They filled the earth with thunder and silence, with power and grace, with fear and beauty. They were not monsters, as stories once painted them, but living beings that thrived in a world as real as ours, governed by the same rules of survival, driven by hunger, instincts, and the need to endure. Today, as we stand on the edge of bringing them back, it is their age we remember. The age of giants is not just history, it is a mirror. It shows us what life is capable of, how it can rise, adapt, dominate, and vanish. To resurrect dinosaurs is not just to bring back their flesh and bone, but to summon the echoes of this immense past, to let the world once again tremble under their presence. And so, as the story of rebirth begins, we look back at the age of giants with awe. We look back, knowing that they were more than rulers of Earth. They were chapters of a book still being written. A book where humanity may now take the pen, daring to turn the page and write the next line: Dinosaurs Reborn. The world of the dinosaurs was ancient, vast, and enduring. For over 160 million years, they had been the dominant rulers of Earth, spreading across continents, filling every ecosystem, adapting to deserts, swamps, forests, and plains. They had survived droughts, volcanic eruptions, shifts in oceans, and changes in climate. Their story seemed eternal, a reign without end. But nature's story is written in cycles, and every age has its twilight. For the dinosaurs, it came suddenly, violently, in a cataclysm that reshaped the course of life forever. The final chapter of the Mesozoic era began on a seemingly ordinary day 65 million years ago. The skies over what is now the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico were bright and blue. Herds of triceratops grazed across floodplains. Massive sauropods lumbered near rivers, while predatory tyrannosaurs stalked silently in the forest. Pterosaurs soared overhead, their wings casting shadows across the land. It was a day like any other, filled with the familiar rhythm of survival. Yet far above the Earth, in the cold void of space, a chunk of rock hurtled toward the planet at incredible speed. This rock was no ordinary fragment. It was 6 miles wide, larger than Mount Everest, and traveling at over 40,000 miles per hour. Born from the collisions and chaos of the solar system, it was on a trajectory that would end in unimaginable destruction. In its path lay not only the dinosaurs, but nearly 3/4 of all life on Earth. When the asteroid struck, the impact was beyond anything life had ever witnessed. In a fraction of a second, it unleashed energy equal to billions of nuclear bombs. The Earth shook violently, shockwaves racing across continents. The asteroid punched a crater over 100 miles wide and 20 miles deep into the crust of the Earth, tearing apart the Yucatan. Rock and vapor shot into the sky, forming a column that pierced the atmosphere and reached into space. Molten fragments rained back down, igniting forests thousands of miles away. The immediate aftermath was apocalyptic. Tsunamis taller than skyscrapers surged across coastlines, drowning everything in their path. Shockwaves flattened forests, shattering trees as though they were twigs. Fires ignited across continents as debris, heated from the impact, fell back through the atmosphere like fiery rain. Animals fled in terror, but there was no escape. And yet, the greatest killer was not the initial impact, but what followed in the days, weeks, and years to come. As dust and soot filled the atmosphere, the skies darkened. Sunlight, the very foundation of life, was blotted out. Photosynthesis ground to a halt. Plants withered, forests collapsed, and the food chains that had sustained ecosystems unraveled. Herbivores starved, their massive bodies collapsing onto the ground, while predators that depended on them followed soon after. The planet fell into a deep freeze. With sunlight gone, temperatures plummeted. Icy winds swept across once lush landscapes. Seas chilled, currents faltered, and entire marine ecosystems collapsed. Creatures that had thrived for millions of years found themselves unable to adapt to the sudden change. In this frozen darkness, the age of giants came to an end. The titans that had once shaken the earth with their footsteps vanished one by one. Sauropods, the colossal long-necked browsers, disappeared from the plains they once ruled. Ceratopsians, with their elaborate frills and horns, fell silent across the fields. The fearsome Tyrannosaurus rex, the apex predator of its age, roared for the last time, its kind extinguished by the silence of starvation and cold. But even in the bleakest hour, life found ways to endure. Small mammals, once insignificant creatures hiding in shadows, burrowed into the earth, surviving on roots, seeds, and insects. Birds, the descendants of small feathered dinosaurs, adapted and endured, carrying with them the legacy of their ancient kin. Crocodiles and turtles, with their resilience to harsh environments, slipped through the cracks of extinction. The Great Extinction was not merely an end, but a reshaping of Earth itself. It cleared the stage, removing the colossal rulers and opening space for new forms of life. Mammals, freed from the shadow of dinosaurs, began to diversify, evolving into the ancestors of creatures that walk the earth today. Without that asteroid, there would be no elephants, no whales, no primates, no humans. The destruction that erased the dinosaurs laid the foundation for us. Yet the tragedy of their end lingers. The fossil record tells a story written in stone, of vibrant diversity cut short, of creatures frozen in their final moments. In Montana, skeletons of triceratops lie buried in floodplains, their horns locked as if defending themselves in vain. In North Dakota, a site known as Tanis preserves fish with tiny glass beads in their gills, formed from molten rock that rained from the skies on the day of impact. These fossils are not just bones, they are echoes of the moment when the world collapsed. Scientists today study the extinction with awe and urgency. The impact crater, called Chicxulub, lies buried beneath the Yucatan, hidden under layers of rock and sea. Drilling into it has revealed shocked quartz, melted rock, and evidence of the colossal force that reshaped the planet. Computer models reconstruct the global devastation, the darkness, the freezing temperatures, the collapse of ecosystems. What they show is clear without the asteroid. Dinosaurs might still roam the Earth today. The Great Extinction is also a warning. It reveals how fragile life truly is, how quickly dominance can vanish. The dinosaurs had survived for over 160 million years, yet in a single moment, their reign was over. Humanity, by comparison, has existed for less than a blink of geological time. If such a catastrophe struck again, could we endure? The story of the dinosaurs reminds us that no species, no matter how powerful, is immune to the forces of nature. And yet, as we contemplate their end, we cannot escape the desire to see them once more. Perhaps that is why the dream of resurrection holds such power. To bring back dinosaurs is to defy extinction, to rewrite the tragedy of their fall, to say that the giants who ruled the earth can walk again. But in doing so, we must remember the lessons of their demise. The asteroid was beyond their control, but our choices are within ours. The age of dinosaurs ended in fire and darkness, but their story does not end there. It continues in the bones we study, in the birds that fly above us, and in the science that dares to imagine their return. Extinction may have silenced them, but in the laboratories of today, the echoes of that lost world stir once more. Their fall was sudden, violent, and complete, but the memory of the Great Extinction has become one of the most powerful stories in the history of life. It is a story not just of death, but of transformation. And now, as humanity stands on the edge of bringing them back, we must look to that moment 65 million years ago and ask ourselves what it truly means to give dinosaurs a second chance. Because to understand their rebirth, we must first understand their end. The story of dinosaurs has never truly been silent. Though their bodies vanished in fire and ash, their bones remained, locked within the earth like ancient memories. For millions of years, they slept beneath layers of rock and soil, waiting for chance and human curiosity to uncover them. It is through these remnants that we have come to know them, to glimpse into their lost world. Unearthing the past is not just a matter of digging. It is a conversation with time itself, a dialogue across millions of years where stone becomes storyteller. The first discoveries were almost accidental. Centuries ago, when farmers unearthed massive bones from their fields, they mistook them for the remains of dragons or giants. In China, such bones were ground into powders and used in traditional medicine known as dragon bones. In Europe, legends of griffins and monsters found their origins in fossilized remains that no one could yet understand. The science of paleontology had not been born, and the true identity of these ancient giants remained hidden behind myth. It was not until the 18th and 19th centuries that humanity began to realize what these fossils represented. Scholars and explorers started to catalog bones with a scientific eye. Strange teeth, massive femurs, and mysterious vertebrae hinted at creatures unlike any living on Earth. When scientists like William Buckland and Gideon Mantell began describing creatures they called Megalosaurus and Iguanodon, the concept of dinosaurs took shape. Sir Richard Owen would later give them their famous name, Dinosauria, meaning terrible lizards. From that moment, the world changed. Fossils became windows into a forgotten age. Each excavation revealed more secrets: skulls with horns, jaws lined with serrated teeth, claws longer than a human hand. The ground beneath our feet became a library of stone, each fossil a page in the history of life. Paleontologists ventured into deserts, cliffs, and badlands, braving scorching heat, dust storms, and isolation, all to find fragments of creatures that once ruled the earth. The 19th century saw an explosion of discoveries, but also fierce rivalries. In the United States, two men, Edward Drinker Cope and Othniel Charles Marsh, engaged in a bitter feud known as the Bone Wars. Desperate to outdo each other, they rushed to find and name as many dinosaurs as possible. Their rivalry led to mistakes, broken fossils, and reckless competition, but it also filled museums with skeletons that still inspire awe today. Brontosaurus, Allosaurus, Stegosaurus, many of these names emerged from that era, cementing dinosaurs in the imagination of the world. The process of unearthing fossils is painstaking and delicate. When paleontologists stumble upon a bone weathering out of rock, they know they have found only the beginning. Layers of stone are carefully chipped away, inch by inch, to expose the skeleton hidden beneath. Fragile bones are wrapped in plaster jackets to protect them during transport. Back in laboratories, skilled technicians clean them with tiny brushes and tools, revealing every detail carved by time. What emerges are not just bones, but stories. Every fossil carries clues. Tooth marks reveal predator-prey interactions. Nests filled with eggs show evidence of parental care. Trackways pressed into ancient mud preserve moments of life: a herd migrating, a predator chasing its prey, or perhaps a lone dinosaur pausing to drink. Even fossilized dung coprolites tell us what these creatures ate. Paleontology is detective work, piecing together the fragments of behavior, diet, and movement from silent stone. The greatest discoveries are often the most unexpected. In Montana, the Hell Creek Formation has yielded Tyrannosaurus rex skeletons, some with soft tissue traces preserved inside their bones. In Canada, an armored nodosaur was found so perfectly fossilized that even the texture of its skin was preserved, making it look as though it had simply fallen asleep. In Mongolia's Gobi Desert, entire nests of velociraptor and protoceratops have been uncovered, frozen in mid-struggle by ancient sandstorms. Each find is a time capsule, a direct link to moments that played out tens of millions of years ago. Technology has deepened our ability to read these fossils. Advanced scanning techniques, such as CT imaging, allow scientists to peer inside skulls and bones without destroying them, revealing brain cavities and inner ear structures. Isotopic analysis can trace the diets and migration patterns of dinosaurs, showing how they moved across ancient landscapes. Even chemical residues trapped in fossilized feathers reveal hints of coloration, suggesting that some dinosaurs wore shades of red, orange, and even iridescent blue. But perhaps the most astonishing discovery lies within the fossils themselves: traces of DNA. While the idea of extracting complete genomes, as imagined in films, remains unlikely, fragments of ancient proteins and genetic material have been found in well-preserved bones. Collagen, the protein found in connective tissues, has been identified in Tyrannosaurus and Hadrosaur fossils, pushing the limits of how long organic material can survive. Though incomplete, these fragments fuel the dream that one day, with advancing technology, we might reconstruct the blueprints of life itself. The act of unearthing the past is not limited to the field and laboratory. It is also the work of imagination. Once fossils are assembled, paleontologists must reconstruct muscles, skin, and behavior from clues left behind. Entire ecosystems are envisioned from a few bones and plant imprints. Artists bring them to life with paint and digital renderings, shaping our vision of what dinosaurs looked like. The images of roaring tyrannosaurs and herds of diplodocus are not just art. They are hypotheses, carefully built from science and speculation. Each discovery reshapes our understanding. Once we believed dinosaurs were slow, lumbering reptiles. Now we know many were fast, dynamic, and active, some with feathers and vibrant social lives. Once we thought they dragged their tails along the ground, but fossil trackways proved their tails were held aloft, balancing their bodies as they moved. Each correction brings us closer to the truth, but also reminds us that science is never final. The Earth always has more secrets to reveal. And still, the work continues. Paleontologists travel to remote corners of the world: Argentina's Badlands, China's fossil-rich provinces, Antarctica's icy coasts where bones emerge from melting glaciers. Each journey is a gamble, requiring months of labor and sometimes yielding only a few fragments. Yet those fragments can change everything. A single claw may hint at a predator never before known. A single tooth may reveal a species that once dominated an entire ecosystem. Fossils are not just bones. They are the voices of time. They remind us that life has endured through cataclysms, adapted to changing climates, and flourished in forms beyond our imagination. They are proof that extinction, while final for species, is not the end of their story. Through human hands, the past is unearthed, and the voices of long-dead giants are given the chance to be heard once more. But there is more to this story than curiosity. The fossils we study carry warnings. They show us ecosystems that thrived and then collapsed. They remind us that no reign is eternal, that even the mightiest creatures can fall. They are silent teachers, urging us to see the fragility of our own age, to understand that our place in history is no more secure than theirs once was. And so, the act of unearthing the past becomes something greater. It is not simply about reconstructing skeletons in museums or filling textbooks with names and dates. It is about connecting to the deep time of Earth, about recognizing that we are part of a much larger story. A story written across billions of years, where extinction and survival weave together to create the tapestry of life. As the dust is brushed away from a bone, as the final piece of a skeleton is placed together, we are not just resurrecting shapes of creatures long gone. We are opening a doorway. We are looking back into an age that shaped the Earth we inherited. And now, as humanity contemplates bringing them back through science, those bones take on a new meaning. They are no longer only relics, they are blueprints. They are not just history, they are potential futures waiting to be written. The ground beneath our feet holds memories older than we can fathom. Every fossil, every fragment, every imprint is a reminder that time is vast, that life is resilient, and that the past is never truly lost. In unearthing the past, we do more than study dinosaurs. We bring their world back into ours, one bone at a time. The dream of resurrection begins not with thunder or spectacle, but with silence. In laboratories scattered across the world, under the glow of sterile lights, scientists bend over microscopes and machines, attempting to unlock the very code of life. In their hands lies a question so profound it unsettles the boundary between science and myth. Can we bring back the dinosaurs? The idea seems impossible, a fantasy written in films and fiction. Extinction is meant to be final, yet the tools of modern science whisper otherwise. Within the fragments of fossilized bones, within amber that has trapped insects for tens of millions of years, within rare traces of ancient proteins, lie the whispers of genetic codes long thought lost. DNA, the molecule that records the story of every living being, can survive longer than once believed. Although it degrades with time, under the right conditions, fragments remain fragile and incomplete, yet still bearing the echoes of dinosaurs. Scientists do not search for whole genomes as imagined in Hollywood, where a mosquito's belly preserved perfect DNA strands. Instead, they search for fragments, scattered like torn pages of an ancient book. These fragments are read, sequenced, and compared to their descendants. For dinosaurs, their closest living relatives are not reptiles, but birds. Every sparrow, every crow, every ostrich carries within its cells the legacy of dinosaurs. By mapping the DNA of modern birds, researchers fill the gaps left by extinct ancestors. The process is painstaking. Computer algorithms reconstruct sequences, stitching fragments together, predicting what the ancient code might have looked like. It is like restoring a ruined manuscript, where only scattered words survive, filling in the missing lines through context and comparison. The results are never perfect, but with each breakthrough, the blueprint of a dinosaur becomes clearer. Genetic engineering tools, like CRISPR, have transformed this dream from speculation into possibility. CRISPR allows scientists to cut and paste genetic material with precision, altering the very instructions of life. By modifying the DNA of bird embryos, researchers can reactivate dormant traits buried deep within their genomes. In chicken embryos, scientists have triggered the growth of snout-like faces instead of beaks, and even hints of clawed hands instead of wings. These are not full dinosaurs, but glimpses of their ancient heritage, genetic memories flickering to life in the present. But resurrection is more than manipulating DNA. It requires an entire orchestration of science. Cloning, once used to create Dolly the sheep, offers one method: inserting reconstructed dinosaur DNA into an egg cell and coaxing it to develop. Synthetic biology offers another: building genes from scratch, assembling them piece by piece until they form a living code. Both paths face immense challenges, but both point toward the same horizon: the rebirth of a creature long gone. Beyond genetics, scientists must reconstruct entire cells. DNA, alone cannot function without the machinery of a living cell to read and express it. This means creating compatible environments where ancient instructions can be understood by modern biology. Some researchers imagine using the eggs of large birds, like ostriches or emus, as surrogate hosts, their bodies providing the vessels in which reconstructed embryos might grow. The sight of a modern bird giving rise to a creature with claws, teeth, and a long tail would be more than symbolic. It would be proof that extinction can be reversed. Resurrection also demands we look at ecosystems. Creating a dinosaur in isolation is one achievement. Creating a viable population is another. Diversity is key to survival, and a single cloned individual is not enough. Scientists would need to produce many, ensuring genetic variation to prevent weaknesses. They would also need to design environments where these creatures could live. Dinosaurs evolved in a world with different climates, different plants, different atmospheric compositions. Recreating their conditions means constructing habitats like living museums where the past and present collide. The science of resurrection extends beyond biology into technology. Artificial wombs, capable of nurturing embryos outside of living bodies, are advancing rapidly. Bioreactors mimic the chemical conditions of ancient cells. Computers simulate evolutionary pathways, predicting what traits might emerge when ancient DNA interacts with modern biology. Even robotics and artificial intelligence are being used to model behavior, helping us anticipate how a resurrected dinosaur might move, hunt, or interact with its environment. But science is never separate from ethics. With each breakthrough, voices rise in caution. Just because we can bring dinosaurs back, should we? Extinction, some argue, is nature's way of clearing the stage, and to undo it is to tamper with forces beyond our understanding. Others counter that humanity has already altered the course of life, driving countless species to extinction, reshaping ecosystems through industry and climate change. To resurrect dinosaurs, they argue, is not hubris, but redemption proof that we can restore as well as destroy. The debate reaches beyond science into philosophy. What is a dinosaur? If we reconstruct one from fragments and fill in the rest with bird DNA, is it truly a dinosaur or a new hybrid, something caught between past and present? If we build one entirely from synthetic genes, is it authentic or artificial? Authenticity becomes slippery when we are writing life from scratch. Yet for many, the vision of seeing a triceratops grazing or a velociraptor hunting outweighs the purist's concern. The science of resurrection is not only about dinosaurs. It is part of a broader field known as de-extinction, the effort to bring back species humans have lost. The woolly mammoth, the passenger pigeon, the thylacine, all are being studied for possible return. The same techniques that might resurrect dinosaurs are already being tested on these more recent extinctions. Success with mammoths could pave the way for even older creatures, pushing the boundaries of time itself. Still, dinosaurs represent something greater. They are not just another species. They are symbols of nature's grandeur and fragility. To bring them back would be to rewrite one of the greatest tragedies of life, to restore giants who vanished in fire and ash. It would be to say that extinction is no longer permanent, that humanity has claimed the power once reserved for the cosmos. The risks are immense. Resurrected dinosaurs might not behave as expected. They could struggle to survive in modern climates, or worse, thrive too well and disrupt ecosystems. Predators, like velociraptors, could pose threats to human safety. Even herbivores the size of buses could devastate landscapes if released unchecked. Resurrection is not just about creating life. It is about managing it, controlling it, and bearing responsibility for it. And yet, despite the risks, the momentum grows. Laboratories continue to sequence DNA. Embryos continue to be tested. Computer models grow more sophisticated, artificial wombs more advanced. Every year, the line between speculation and possibility grows thinner. The science of resurrection may one day give us living dinosaurs, but it also forces us to confront deeper truths. Extinction is not just about dinosaurs, it is about us. Every day, species vanish from our planet, driven to oblivion by human actions. To bring back dinosaurs while allowing modern creatures to disappear would be an irony too cruel to ignore. Perhaps the true lesson of resurrection is not only about reversing the past, but protecting the present. Still, the allure remains irresistible. The idea that we could walk beside creatures that once ruled the world, that we could hear their calls and see their shadows against the sun, that we could bridge the gulf of 65 million years, it stirs something primal within us. Awe, fear, wonder. The science of resurrection is no longer just theory. It is a path unfolding step by step, experiment by experiment. Its destination is uncertain, but its promise is undeniable. Somewhere in the hum of a laboratory, in the glow of an incubator, the past stirs. And perhaps, one day soon, the first cry of a dinosaur will echo again, not in the fossil record, not in imagination, but in life. In the sterile quiet of a laboratory, under the hum of machines and the glow of fluorescent light, history is about to change. For decades, the dream of resurrecting dinosaurs has lived only in imagination, in fossils, and in films. But now, within a sealed chamber of glass and steel, life begins to stir. The first success is not a colossal predator or a thunderous giant, but something small, fragile, and trembling within an egg. The hatchling is the moment the impossible becomes real. Scientists gather in silence, their eyes fixed on the incubator. Inside, a shell faintly cracks, the sound almost inaudible yet louder than thunder in their minds. Tiny movements push against the fragile barrier, a struggle as old as life itself. The egg rocks gently, then splits, and from within emerges a creature unseen for 65 million years. Its skin glistens, damp and soft, covered in faint downy feathers. Its eyes, bright and unblinking, open to the world for the first time. It chirps a sound strangely familiar, like a bird yet alien, carrying echoes of an ancient past. The hatchling is small, barely the size of a human hand, but in it lies the culmination of centuries of discovery, decades of science, and countless dreams. It is proof that extinction is no longer final. It is proof that life can be called back from the abyss of time. The room holds its breath, as if afraid to break the moment, as if aware they are witnessing something that will redefine the future. Scientists rush to document every detail. Cameras record the first shaky steps as the hatchling stumbles onto legs, not yet strong enough to hold its weight. Its claws are delicate but sharp, its beak-like snout lined with tiny teeth. A mixture of old and new, familiar and strange. In its trembling body lives both the memory of dinosaurs and the adaptations of its modern avian relatives. The hatchling bonds quickly to movement, imprinting on the first scientist it sees. Its chirps grow louder, demanding warmth, comfort, food. Syringes filled with nutrient-rich formula replace the parental care it would have known millions of years ago. In the absence of a mother's call or the safety of a nest, machines and human hands become its caretakers. Every feeding, every measurement, every observation is recorded with precision, for this fragile creature is not only life, but data, the first of its kind in an age where none should exist. But beneath the awe lies unease. What have we truly created? Is this hatchling a dinosaur as it once was, or something new, a hybrid of past and present shaped by the limits of our knowledge? Its DNA is reconstructed, stitched together from fragments and modern birds. Perhaps it is not an exact copy of what once roamed the Mesozoic, but a close reflection, a shadow given form. Authenticity blurs in the face of existence. The hatchling's growth becomes the focus of intense study. In days, its feathers darken, its legs strengthen, its movements grow confident. It pecks, scratches, and tests its environment with instinctive curiosity. Its calls shift from fragile chirps to sharper cries, echoing against the laboratory walls like the voice of a lost age. Scientists monitor its metabolism, its skeletal development, its neural activity. Each scan reveals the miracle and the flaws of resurrection. Certain genes behave unpredictably, expressing traits that surprise even the researchers. Some feathers sprout in unexpected patterns, hinting at evolutionary memories dormant for millions of years. The world outside the laboratory does not yet know. Secrecy surrounds the project, for the implications are vast. If news of the hatchling escaped, it would ignite firestorms of fascination, fear, and outrage. Governments would demand access, corporations would see profit, and the public would demand answers. But for now, it is hidden, a secret shared only by those who dared to defy extinction. As weeks pass, the hatchling grows bolder. It runs in short bursts, its balance clumsy but improving. It leaps, flapping its feathered arms, testing the air, though flight is far beyond its body's design. It hunts instinctively, snapping at insects placed in its enclosure, its movements swift and precise. The laboratory becomes not just a place of science, but a cradle for a creature reborn. The scientists begin to name it. Though official records label it as Specimen 1, those who care for it whisper nicknames: Echo, Phoenix, Dawn. Each name carries the weight of symbolism, for this hatchling is more than an animal. It is the embodiment of humanity's reach across time. It is the answer to a question once thought unanswerable. And yet, shadows grow alongside wonder. Ethical debates intensify within the team. Some argue that nurturing the hatchling is a triumph of science, a celebration of our ability to restore what was lost. Others fear it is the beginning of something uncontrollable. If one hatchling survives, what of the next? What of predators, of giants, of species too dangerous to contain? The hatchling is innocent, but its existence opens doors to futures filled with risk. As it matures, the hatchling displays intelligence beyond expectation. It learns quickly, recognizing its caretakers, responding to signals, even solving simple puzzles designed to test its cognition. It shows curiosity toward its environment, manipulating objects with claws and beak, testing, learning. Its brain, though small, reveals a spark of problem-solving behavior reminiscent of modern crows and parrots. It is not only alive, but aware, a being that engages with the world in ways both familiar and alien. The time comes to reveal it to the world. Behind closed doors, preparations begin for its introduction. Cameras are positioned, speeches are drafted, security is heightened. The moment humanity sees a living dinosaur will be a moment that divides history into before and after. The day arrives. In a press conference broadcast across the globe, the incubator doors slide open and the hatchling steps into the light of cameras. Flashes ignite. Reporters gasp. Millions watch through screens as the creature chirps and blinks under the glare. Its feathers shimmer faintly. Its claws curl against the platform. Its eyes dart with sharp awareness. The world erupts. Headlines scream of dinosaurs reborn. Debates ignite overnight. Some celebrate the triumph, calling it the greatest scientific achievement in human history. Others protest, warning of disaster, comparing it to opening Pandora's box. Religious leaders weigh in, questioning whether humanity has trespassed into the realm of creation itself. Economists predict industries built around living dinosaurs. Environmentalists warn of ecological collapse. For the hatchling, none of this matters. It simply eats, sleeps, and grows, unaware of the storm it has unleashed. Yet, in its fragile body lies the burden of humanity's choices, the weight of history, and the pull of the future. It is no longer just an animal. It is a symbol, a question, a living paradox. As months pass, the hatchling thrives, growing into a juvenile. Its feathers thicken, its claws sharpen, its movements grow more precise. It chases live prey, introduced into its enclosure, displaying predatory instincts honed by millions of years of evolution. It bonds with others of its kind, for more hatchlings follow, each success building upon the last. The laboratory becomes a nursery of the ancient, a place where the past multiplies into the present. But the innocence of the hatchling fades as the reality of its nature emerges. It is not a pet, not a curiosity. It is a predator, an animal shaped by survival in a world long gone. It learns to stalk, to ambush, to dominate its environment. Its caretakers feel the first sting of fear as its size increases, as its behavior grows less predictable. What was once fragile and dependent becomes powerful and independent. The hatchling is no longer only a triumph, it is a reminder of the risks that follow success. And still, humanity cannot look away. Zoos, governments, corporations, and private collectors demand access. Cloning facilities expand, producing more species, larger species. The hatchling becomes the spark of an entire movement, the first step into a future where extinction is not the end, but merely a pause. The first success is celebrated, debated, and feared, but it cannot be undone. The hatchling walks, eats, grows, and lives. The line has been crossed, the door opened. What began as a fragile chirp in a sterile lab has become a roar that will echo across the world. The world has always dreamed of dinosaurs, but for most people, that dream was shaped not by fossils in museums or scientific journals, but by cinema. In 1993, a film called Jurassic Park burst into theaters, its creatures towering on giant screens, breathing life into bones that had slept for 65 million years. For the first time, audiences could see them walk, run, hunt, and roar in ways that felt real. The movie captured imaginations across the globe and left behind a cultural legacy so powerful that when people think of dinosaurs, they often think of Jurassic Park. But now, in laboratories where hatchlings stir and science bends time itself, we must face a sobering truth. The legacy of Jurassic Park is both a beacon and a warning. It shaped our vision of dinosaurs, but it also painted illusions. It promised both wonder and terror, both possibility and catastrophe. And as dinosaurs rise again, we must ask, how much of that legacy is reality and how much is fiction? The film's premise was intoxicatingly simple. Scientists discovered dinosaur DNA preserved in the bellies of ancient mosquitoes trapped in amber. They extracted it, filled the missing pieces with frog DNA, and cloned dinosaurs back to life. What followed was chaos. Majestic brachiosaurs towered over humans, triceratops rested in the grass, and raptors and tyrannosaurs hunted with terrifying ferocity. Jurassic Park was not merely a story. It was a vision of resurrection so vivid that many believed it might already be possible. But science is rarely so simple. DNA, fragile and mortal, degrades quickly after death. Under most conditions, it lasts only thousands of years, not millions. The idea of perfectly preserved dinosaur genomes was fantasy. The fragments we uncover are incomplete, damaged, and scattered like burned pages of an ancient book. No mosquito trapped in amber has yet yielded the key to dinosaur resurrection. Instead, the reality is far slower, more meticulous, requiring decades of work to piece together the faintest whispers of genetic memory. And yet, reality is catching up in ways even the film did not imagine. We do not rely on amber or chance preservation. Instead, we use CRISPR synthetic biology and computational modeling to rebuild what time erased. Jurassic Park showed us frog DNA filling the gaps. Reality offers bird DNA, for birds are the true heirs of dinosaurs. Ostriches, chickens, and emus carry within their cells the echoes of their ancient kin, and scientists are beginning to awaken those echoes, reactivating dormant traits that once built claws, teeth, and tails. The legacy of Jurassic Park also shaped how we see the animals themselves. In the film, dinosaurs were portrayed as monstrous reptiles, scaly and roaring, their colors muted, their behaviors simplified. But paleontology has revealed a more complex truth. Many dinosaurs bore feathers, brilliant with color, shimmering with iridescence. Their calls may have sounded less like roars and more like bird-like cries, deep resonances, or even songs. Velociraptors, portrayed as towering predators in the film, were in reality smaller, feathered hunters, closer in size to a large turkey. Truth is stranger and often more fascinating than fiction. And yet, in other ways, the film was astonishingly prescient. Jurassic Park warned of the arrogance of humanity, of scientists so focused on whether they could that they did not stop to ask whether they should. That warning echoes louder now than ever. As hatchlings emerge in laboratories, as dinosaurs stir in glass enclosures, the words spoken in fiction become eerily prophetic. Life finds a way. The legacy of the film also painted dinosaurs as uncontrollable forces of nature, breaking free from fences, hunting humans, wreaking havoc. And while reality does not unfold with cinematic drama, the risks are real. A living dinosaur, no matter how carefully engineered, is still an animal with instincts honed by millions of years of evolution. It will test its environment. It will resist confinement. It will assert its nature. Even a small raptor-like creature could pose immense danger in the wrong conditions. Even a gentle herbivore could devastate ecosystems if released unchecked. The cultural weight of Jurassic Park cannot be overstated. Generations grew up with its images etched into their minds. Scientists themselves admit that the film inspired their careers, that they dug in the earth or sequenced DNA because they once watched dinosaurs roar across a screen. Jurassic Park shaped public imagination, creating a hunger not just to study dinosaurs, but to see them alive again. That hunger fuels the very projects now unfolding in secret laboratories. But reality must contend with responsibility. In the film, dinosaurs were created for entertainment, to populate a theme park. In reality, the temptation to commercialize them is just as strong. Zoos, corporations, and governments see dollar signs in living dinosaurs, tourism, attractions, military applications, scientific prestige. The film's theme park fantasy may not remain fiction for long. Fenced reserves, branded exhibits, and exclusive experiences could soon follow, turning reborn creatures into commodities. Yet there is another side to the legacy. Jurassic Park also taught us awe. Who can forget the scene where a brachiosaurus reared on its hind legs to feed from the highest trees, or the moment when herds of Gallimimus thundered across open fields? These scenes were not about fear, but wonder, about rediscovering the grandeur of life itself. That wonder, perhaps, is the most enduring part of the legacy. It reminds us why we dream of dinosaurs, why we risk so much to bring them back. Still, reality demands more nuance. Jurassic Park gave us neat categories of villains and heroes: the greedy businessman, the reckless scientist, the wise mathematician warning of chaos. In truth, the lines blur. Scientists are not villains, but explorers wrestling with ethical dilemmas. Corporations are not always predators, but they can be reckless in pursuit of profit. Governments are not protectors by default. They may exploit as much as they regulate. Reality is more complex, more tangled, and perhaps more dangerous because of it. The legacy of Jurassic Park lives on in every conversation about dinosaurs, every headline about extinction, every debate about genetics. When the first hatchling stepped into the light, the world did not react only with science. It reacted with the imagery the film had given us. Headlines invoked the movie, people joked about parks gone wrong, and warnings of chaos echoed across media. The shadow of fiction still frames our understanding of reality. And so, as dinosaurs truly return, we must separate myth from fact. There will be no perfect DNA from amber. There will be no instant cloning of towering giants. But there will be hatchlings, reconstructed from fragments, raised in laboratories, nurtured by science and technology. There will be awe and fear, wonder and risk. And unlike in the film, we cannot roll the credits when things go wrong. The reality of reborn dinosaurs is both less dramatic and more profound. It is not spectacle but science, not theme parks, but laboratories. Yet it carries consequences that even fiction could not fully imagine. Ecosystems disrupted, ethics challenged, humanity forced to bear responsibility for lives it has created. In some ways, reality is slower, quieter. In others, it is far more dangerous. Jurassic Park gave us a vision of resurrection that shaped the world's imagination. Reality is now delivering its own version, one bone, one gene, one hatchling at a time. The question is not whether life finds a way it already has. The question is whether humanity will find a way to live with the consequences of its own power. The legacy of Jurassic Park will always color how we see dinosaurs. But as science marches forward, we must remember that the creatures before us are not movie monsters. They are living beings, echoes of a lost world, carrying with them both the majesty of the past and the burden of our choices. Fiction brought them to life in our minds. Reality may yet bring them to life in our world. The first hatchlings chirp and stumble under the glow of fluorescent lamps, their fragile bodies adapting to a world far different from the one they were meant to inhabit. They are alive, but they are also out of place. Their ancestors walked across vast floodplains beneath humid skies, grazed in primeval forests thick with ferns, or stalked prey in steaming jungles. Today, skyscrapers pierce the horizon, air is tainted with pollution, and ecosystems are fragmented by roads, cities, and fences. If dinosaurs are to live again, they must have somewhere to live. This is the habitat question, the challenge that stands between possibility and survival. In the Mesozoic era, the Earth itself was different. During the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods, temperatures were warmer, sea levels higher, and carbon dioxide richer in the air. Forests of cycads, ginkgos, and conifers dominated the land. Ferns spread thick carpets beneath towering trees. Flowering plants, still new to evolution, bloomed in strange forms. The oxygen concentration in the atmosphere may have been higher, fueling the growth of massive bodies and sustaining herds of creatures larger than anything alive today. It was a world that no longer exists. To place dinosaurs into today's Earth is to ask whether they can survive in an alien landscape. Climate is the first barrier. Many dinosaurs thrived in warm, humid environments with stable temperatures. While Earth is warming now, it is doing so in chaotic ways: polar ice melting, deserts expanding, storms intensifying. Can creatures shaped for the Mesozoic adapt to the volatile climates of the Anthropocene? Some scientists believe so. After all, not all dinosaurs lived in tropical heat. Fossils in Alaska and Antarctica reveal species that endured months of darkness and cold. These dinosaurs may have been warm-blooded, or at least partially able to regulate their body temperatures, giving hope that some could endure modern climates. Others argue that genetic engineering could help, altering their physiology to better match today's world. Yet climate is only part of the puzzle. Ecosystems today are fragile, already under strain from human activity. Where would dinosaurs fit? Imagine releasing a herd of triceratops into African savannas. Their massive bodies could strip vegetation faster than it can regenerate, displacing elephants and rhinos. Unleash velociraptors into North American forests, and deer and other prey species could collapse under their predation. Ecosystems are intricate webs, and even small changes ripple outward. Introducing species from 65 million years ago could unravel those webs entirely. The solution many propose is containment, building reserves, sanctuaries, or even parks where dinosaurs could live without disrupting modern ecosystems. Vast enclosures could be constructed, mimicking the climates and vegetation of the Mesozoic. Swamps filled with ferns, plains seeded with cycads, forests planted with conifers. Technology could regulate temperature and humidity, artificial rivers and lakes sustaining life. These would be living museums, time capsules of the ancient world preserved within fences. But building habitats is not only a scientific challenge, it is a moral one. Are we creating a true ecosystem or a zoo? Will dinosaurs in artificial reserves be living authentically, or will they be prisoners in a world built for human fascination? Even the largest reserves may not replicate the endless expanses their ancestors once roamed. Herds of sauropods, meant to wander across continents, might find themselves confined to acres, their instincts clashing with boundaries they cannot cross. And what of predators? Containing creatures like Tyrannosaurus or packs of velociraptors raises questions of safety as much as habitat. Their natural behavior is to hunt, to roam, to test their environment. Fences may not hold forever, and barriers may eventually fail. Even within reserves, prey must be supplied, ecosystems balanced artificially, human caretakers stepping into the role once played by nature. Some envision islands as the solution, isolated environments where dinosaurs can live away from human cities and modern wildlife. Remote islands, equipped with controlled ecosystems, could house populations without the risk of spreading to mainlands. But islands carry their own dangers. Storms, tsunamis, and earthquakes could devastate them. And history has shown that even on islands, species can escape. Once gone, dinosaurs would not respect human borders. Others suggest genetic modifications as part of the answer. If dinosaurs cannot survive in today's climates, alter them. Reduce their size for easier containment. Adjust their metabolisms for cooler temperatures. Engineer them to eat specific plants or avoid certain prey. But in doing so, are we truly resurrecting dinosaurs or creating new creatures inspired by them? Authenticity becomes blurred when science tailors life to convenience. The economic lure of habitats cannot be ignored. Reserves filled with dinosaurs would attract tourists from across the globe. Governments and corporations see profits in creating living attractions, ecosystems engineered not for authenticity, but for spectacle. Herds of herbivores grazing in view of hotels, predators displayed in controlled hunts, baby dinosaurs offered for visitors to see and even touch. The line between conservation and entertainment blurs, and habitats become theaters rather than sanctuaries. But others argue for science first. Habitats could become living laboratories, allowing researchers to study dinosaur behavior, biology, and ecology in ways never possible with fossils alone. How did herds migrate? How did predators coordinate? What sounds did they make? What colors shimmered in their feathers and scales? A habitat could answer questions that paleontology has pursued for centuries, transforming our understanding of evolution. Yet, at the core, the habitat question remains unsolved. We can create the animals, but can we create the world they need? To resurrect dinosaurs is not merely to bring them to life, but to bring back the environments that sustained them. Without those environments, they are displaced beings, living echoes out of sync with time. And beyond practicality lies philosophy. Perhaps dinosaurs do not belong in today's Earth. Their time has passed, their reign ended. By resurrecting them, we may be forcing them into a world where they cannot truly belong, where their presence is novelty rather than necessity. Or perhaps we are giving them a chance, however limited, to walk once more beneath the sun, to fill the earth with their presence, even if only in fragments of their former glory. The hatchling, in its enclosure, chirping and blinking, does not know these debates. It only knows hunger, warmth, and growth. Yet its future depends entirely on humanity's answer to the habitat question. Will it live in a cage, a reserve, a wilderness, or a stage? Will it thrive, or will it merely exist, trapped between past and present? In the end, the habitat question may reveal more about us than about dinosaurs. It forces us to confront what we value: authenticity or spectacle, science or profit, control or freedom. It asks whether we resurrect life for its sake or for ours. The earth of the dinosaurs is gone, swallowed by time. But if we dare to bring them back, we must also dare to build a place where they can live, not just survive, but live. The question is whether we will build that place for them or for ourselves. To resurrect dinosaurs is only the beginning. To keep them alive, to allow them to grow, to thrive, to live as more than experiments in glass chambers, humanity must do something it has never attempted on this scale: engineer entire environments. Life cannot exist in isolation. Every creature depends on the world around it, on the climate, the vegetation, the prey and predators that share its space. To bring back dinosaurs is to bring back fragments of their ancient world, to rebuild echoes of the Mesozoic across a planet they no longer recognize. The challenge begins with air itself. Millions of years ago, the atmosphere was different. Higher levels of carbon dioxide fueled lush plant growth, while oxygen levels fluctuated, at times climbing higher than today. These conditions allowed ecosystems of enormous size to flourish. Herds of sauropods could strip forests bare, only for vegetation to regrow quickly under rich, humid skies. Carnivores grew to immense sizes, sustained by a world of abundance. But modern air is leaner, colder, and filled with pollutants from human industry. Can dinosaurs breathe here as they once did, or must we recreate the very chemistry of their skies? Some scientists argue they will adapt. After all, not all dinosaurs lived under the same conditions. Some thrived in polar regions, enduring months of cold and darkness. Others lived in deserts where resources were scarce. Adaptability, they say, is part of their legacy. But others believe survival is not enough. If we resurrect dinosaurs, should they not live in environments worthy of them, landscapes that reflect the grandeur of their age? To engineer such environments means replanting forests, reshaping wetlands, and redesigning ecosystems. Imagine vast enclosures seeded with cycads, ferns, and conifers, plants that once dominated the Mesozoic. Imagine swamps filled with horsetails and ginkgo groves stretching beneath humid skies. In these engineered landscapes, the silhouettes of triceratops might move through misty plains, while pterosaurs perch on reconstructed cliffs. To create life is one triumph. To create the world it belongs to is another entirely. Technology becomes the architect. Climate-controlled domes could regulate humidity and temperature. Artificial rivers and lakes could sustain aquatic life. Soil could be engineered to replicate the nutrient cycles of ancient ecosystems. Carbon dioxide could be pumped into enclosures to encourage plant growth, creating pockets of atmosphere that mirror prehistoric air. These would not be simple habitats. They would be living time machines, slices of the Mesozoic carved into the present. But ecosystems are more than plants and climate. They are relationships. Herbivores graze, shaping vegetation. Predators stalk, controlling populations. Scavengers clean, decomposers recycle. Without these intricate webs, ecosystems collapse. To engineer environments for dinosaurs means introducing not only them, but the networks that support them. Insects, amphibians, reptiles, and even certain mammals may need to be included. Suddenly, a project of resurrection expands beyond dinosaurs into entire communities of life. This expansion brings risks. Introduce the wrong species, and balance tips toward chaos. Too many herbivores, and vegetation disappears. Too many predators, and prey collapses. Invasive species, even modern ones, could overwhelm fragile reconstructions. Engineering environments becomes an act of constant management, with humans taking the role once played by nature itself. The question arises, how authentic must these environments be? Must they be exact replicas of Mesozoic ecosystems, or is approximation enough? The fossil record provides hints, but not complete pictures. Pollen grains and rock layers tell us what plants once grew. Trackways suggest how herds moved. Fossilized stomach contents reveal diets. But gaps remain, and into those gaps steps human imagination. Every engineered environment is part science, part speculation. We build what we think dinosaurs need, but the truth may be forever out of reach. In practice, engineering environments will likely mean compromise. Enormous herds of sauropods roaming continents are impossible. Instead, smaller populations will graze within bounded reserves. Forests will be planted not with every plant of the Mesozoic, but with modern analogs that survive in today's soils. Predators may be introduced in limited numbers, controlled to prevent collapse. It will not be a true recreation of the Mesozoic. It will be a new world inspired by it, part ancient, part modern, a hybrid of time periods. And yet, even this hybrid world could be astonishing. To stand within a reserve where cycads rise beside conifers, where dragonflies the size of birds hover above pools, where the distant silhouette of a stegosaurus moves against the horizon, that would be to step into living prehistory. Engineered environments would become sanctuaries of awe, living museums where science and imagination converge. But there are deeper concerns. Who will control these environments? Governments? Corporations? Private collectors? If reserves become attractions, designed more for spectacle than authenticity, environments may be engineered for show rather than science. Bright colors, dramatic predators, staged interactions could replace ecological truth. Dinosaurs would not be living beings in balanced ecosystems, but actors in human-designed theaters. Some scientists resist this vision, pushing instead for authenticity and research. They see engineered environments as laboratories where behavior, biology, and ecology can be studied. Every interaction, every adaptation would yield insights into evolution. Reserves would be places of learning, not entertainment. But such visions require funding, and funding often follows profit. The line between science and spectacle may blur until it is indistinguishable. There is also the question of scale. Engineering small enclosures is one challenge. Engineering vast landscapes is another. To truly sustain populations of large dinosaurs would require millions of acres, ecosystems stretching far beyond any fence. Can humanity dedicate such land in a world already struggling with food shortages, expanding cities, and vanishing forests? The irony grows sharp. We may build worlds for creatures long extinct while failing to protect the ones alive today. Some argue for a different path, not recreating ancient environments, but integrating dinosaurs into modern ones. Perhaps triceratops could graze alongside bison in American plains. Perhaps small raptors could find niches in forests alongside wolves and deer. Perhaps sauropods could reshape African savannas. But this integration risks devastation. Modern ecosystems evolved without dinosaurs. Their reintroduction could trigger collapse. Elephants already reshape landscapes, dramatically imagine creatures twice their size. Engineering environments is not only science, it is responsibility. Every choice shapes the lives of creatures that did not ask to return. If we bring them back, do we owe them the worlds they once knew? Or do we simply offer survival in the worlds we have now? The answer reflects not only our technical capacity, but our moral compass. The hatchling in its enclosure grows stronger, but where will it go when it matures? Its instincts drive it to roam, to hunt, to interact with others of its kind. No glass box can contain that forever. Engineering environments is not a distant question. It is urgent, immediate, demanded by the life we have already summoned. And beyond dinosaurs lies a broader truth. As we reshape ecosystems for them, we reveal that we already engineer environments, cities, farms, dams, and deforested landscapes prove it. The difference is that for dinosaurs, we admit it openly, designing deliberately instead of by accident. Perhaps the habitats built for dinosaurs could teach us how to rebuild for ourselves, how to restore balance to the ecosystems we are destroying. In the end, engineering environments is less about the past and more about the future. It asks whether humanity can design responsibly, whether we can balance science, spectacle, and ethics. It asks whether we see ourselves as caretakers or conquerors, as restorers or exploiters. To create dinosaurs is to create responsibility. To engineer their environments is to accept that responsibility fully. For life is never just about survival, it is about belonging. And if we bring back creatures from another age, we must decide whether we will build worlds where they can belong, or worlds where they are only curiosities on display. The hatchlings will grow. They will need forests to explore, skies to look upon, herds to join, predators to evade, rivers to drink from. If we do not give them these things, then resurrection is only cruelty disguised as triumph. If we do, then perhaps in pockets of this modern Earth, the age of dinosaurs may truly live again. The first creatures chosen for release are not the predators that haunt human nightmares, but the herbivores, the giants of leaf and branch, the browsers and grazers whose power lies not in teeth and claws, but in sheer size and presence. The return of herbivores is humanity's first attempt to place dinosaurs into the living world outside sterile laboratories. If carnivores represent chaos and fear, herbivores embody stability, the possibility of coexistence, and the vision of prehistoric majesty reborn. Their arrival begins with eggs, carefully monitored in vast incubators. Each one is the size of a football, leathery and speckled, warmed by artificial systems that mimic ancient nests. When they hatch, the world greets tiny replicas of future giants. Baby triceratops, no larger than dogs, stegosaurs that wobble on unsteady legs, sauropods whose small frames hint at the immense size to come. They chirp and bleat, imprinting on their human caretakers, fragile and dependent in their first days of life. The young are raised with meticulous care. Diets are engineered from ancient plant analogs, ferns, cycads, ginkgo leaves, and modern substitutes that mimic the nutritional content of lost species. Veterinary teams monitor their growth, adjusting calcium levels for bones, protein levels for muscle, and light exposure for healthy development. The babies grow quickly. Within months, they outsize their handlers, their appetites increasing to match their expanding frames. The first to step into engineered environments are the triceratops, chosen for their iconic form and relatively predictable behavior. Small herds are released into enclosures filled with cycads and low shrubs. At first, they stumble, unused to the open sky after life under artificial lights. Then, instinct awakens. They lower their heads to graze, their beaks slicing through vegetation with ease. Their frills catch the sun, their horns glint, and for a moment, it seems as though time itself has bent, as though we are looking directly into the late Cretaceous. Stegosaurs follow, their backs lined with plates that rise like sails, their tails armed with spikes. They move slowly, deliberately, tearing ferns from the ground. When threatened by strange noises or shadows, they instinctively swing their tails, a reminder that even herbivores are not harmless. Humans watch from a distance, careful to avoid provoking them. Then come the sauropods, the true giants. Their eggs hatch into infants the size of calves, but within years they grow into towering forms. Long necks stretch skyward, sweeping through treetops, while massive tails sway behind them like whips. Herds of Brachiosaurus or Diplodocus reshape the land, their footsteps pressing deep into soil, their constant grazing forcing forests to adapt or vanish. In their presence, humans are reduced to insects, small and insignificant beneath the living mountains that now move across engineered plains. The return of herbivores brings awe the world has never known. Crowds gather outside reserves to glimpse them from viewing platforms. Cameras broadcast their movements, documentaries capture every detail. A feeding sauropod becomes a symbol of scientific triumph, its neck rising against the horizon like a skyscraper of flesh and bone. Triceratops herds, grazing together, become icons of possibility, proof that dinosaurs can live again outside laboratories. But alongside awe comes challenge. Herbivores are gentle compared to predators, yet their impact is immense. A single sauropod consumes hundreds of pounds of vegetation daily. A herd can strip acres bare in weeks. Engineers scramble to expand enclosures, to seed fast-growing plants, to prevent collapse. Water systems must be reinforced, for the giants drain lakes and rivers at astonishing rates. Fences that seemed adequate buckle under their weight when curiosity drives them too close. Conflicts arise with modern animals. In reserves that border wildlands, elephants and rhinos clash with triceratops over grazing grounds. Giraffes and sauropods compete for the highest leaves. Herds of herbivores unintentionally trample smaller creatures beneath their feet. Ecosystems begin to bend under the pressure of giants that should never have returned. Scientists debate solutions. Some propose tighter containment, others suggest selective breeding to control population growth. Geneticists even whisper about engineering smaller versions of giants, miniaturized herbivores better suited to modern landscapes. But critics argue this undermines authenticity. What is the point of resurrecting dinosaurs if we reduce them to manageable novelties? The ethical debates intensify as the herbivores grow. Are these creatures meant to be exhibits viewed from safe distances, or do they deserve to roam freely as their ancestors once did? If confined, are they truly alive in the fullest sense, or merely relics in cages? But if freed, can the Earth sustain them, or will their hunger reshape modern ecosystems in destructive ways? Economics enters the debate. Reserves featuring herbivores draw millions in tourism revenue. Governments and corporations see profit in the giants, marketing them as living wonders, building hotels and observation towers that overlook feeding grounds. The return of herbivores becomes not just a scientific experiment, but a commercial enterprise, one that risks prioritizing spectacle over welfare. And yet, beyond politics, beyond commerce, lies the undeniable majesty of their presence. To stand near a herd of triceratops as they graze, their frills rising like shields, their horns glinting, their bodies rumbling with deep calls, is to feel transported into deep time. To watch a brachiosaurus lift its neck into the sky and strip leaves from the highest branches is to glimpse the grandeur of evolution itself. These moments remind humanity why it pursued resurrection in the first place, not for profit, not for spectacle, but for wonder. Still, challenges persist. Young herbivores imprint on humans, leading to dangerous interactions as they grow. A triceratops calf raised by hand may later see its human caretakers not as distant observers, but as members of its herd, nudging them with horns or trampling them by accident. Sauropods, unaware of their size, crush fences or vehicles without malice, simply by moving through the world as they were built to do. The return of herbivores also sparks ecological experiments. Scientists study how they affect vegetation, how their grazing patterns mirror or differ from modern herbivores. They compare the impact of triceratops to elephants, of sauropods to giraffes. Some ecosystems thrive under their presence, plants adapting to constant grazing by growing faster, seeds dispersing in new ways. Others collapse, unable to handle the relentless appetite of giants. These experiments reveal as much about our own ecosystems as about dinosaurs, showing how fragile balance truly is. And always, there is the shadow of predators. Herbivores exist in balance with carnivores. Without predators, populations explode, resources vanish, and starvation follows. Reserves filled only with herbivores soon face crisis. The return of predators becomes inevitable, though feared. Herbivores cannot exist in isolation, for their world was one of constant tension between prey and predator. The hatchlings that once chirped in laboratories now walk as giants in engineered plains, their presence rewriting the landscapes they inhabit. They are not yet wild, not yet free, but they are alive, their bodies moving with ancient rhythms, their calls echoing against modern skies. They are proof that the past can be resurrected, but also a reminder that the past cannot be separated from its complexities. The return of herbivores is both triumph and warning. Triumph, because humanity has done the impossible, bringing back the giants that once ruled the earth. Warning, because their presence reveals the challenges of playing God, not only in creating life, but in sustaining it. Still, when the sun sets over reserves filled with silhouettes of dinosaurs grazing against the horizon, when the air trembles with the low calls of creatures unseen for millions of years, humanity pauses. In that moment, the debates fade, the fears quiet, and awe remains. The giants have returned. The earth trembles beneath their feet once more. The return of herbivores brought awe, but awe alone was never enough. In their world, balance was shaped not only by grazers and browsers, but by the predators who hunted them, tested them, and shaped their evolution. Without carnivores, ecosystems collapse. Without hunters, prey multiplies until hunger tears populations apart. And so, though scientists resisted, though governments hesitated, the awakening of predators became inevitable. It began with curiosity disguised as necessity. Researchers argued that to understand dinosaurs fully, they must study both sides of the equation, the hunted and the hunters. Reserves filled with herbivores grew unstable, vegetation stripped too quickly, herds swelling beyond capacity. Some scientists insisted that predators would restore balance, keeping populations in check, just as lions regulate antelopes or wolves regulate deer. It was a rational argument, a scientific one. But beneath it lay another truth: humanity's unshakable fascination with the most fearsome creatures of prehistory. The first predators to awaken were not the largest. No tyrannosaurus, no giganotosaurus, not yet. Instead, the choice fell on velociraptors, small enough to manage, intelligent enough to study, dangerous enough to spark fear without sparking catastrophe. Their eggs hatched in secret chambers, their bodies lean and feathered, their eyes sharp with awareness. From the moment they emerged, it was clear they were different from herbivores. Where triceratops calves stumbled clumsily, raptor hatchlings moved with purpose. Where stegosaurs blinked slowly, raptors scanned their environment, testing every surface, every shadow. Intelligence radiated from them, unnerving in its intensity. Their growth was rapid. Within weeks, they stalked the confines of their enclosures, their claws clicking against the floor, their feathers bristling with agitation. They hunted instinctively, lunging at prey animals introduced for feeding, coordinating movements even without training. Scientists observed with fascination and fear. Velociraptors were not just animals resurrected. They were predators alive, alert and dangerous, their instincts sharpened by millions of years. When they were introduced into controlled reserves, the results were immediate. Herds of herbivores, once complacent, became wary. Triceratops raised their heads at the faintest sound. Stegosaurs swung their tails in nervous anticipation. Raptors moved in shadows, striking swiftly, testing defenses, retreating when met with force. Even in limited numbers, they reshaped behavior across entire ecosystems. Fear itself became a force as powerful as hunger. But raptors were only the beginning. The world wanted giants, and scientists, pushed by funding and expectation, answered. The first Tyrannosaurus embryo was created after years of debate. Its hatching was unlike any other. The egg cracked, and from it emerged a creature that seemed impossibly ancient, its skull already heavy, its eyes burning with a predatory spark. As it grew, the power of its body became undeniable. Its jaws could crush bone. Its muscles rippled beneath scaled and feathered skin. Its roar shook the walls of its enclosure. When the first Tyrannosaurus was introduced into an engineered environment, humanity glimpsed raw power reborn. herds scattered at its approach, even armored herbivores trembling at its presence. It hunted with brutal efficiency, striking with speed unexpected for its size, its bite ending life in moments. Cameras captured every detail, broadcasting across the world. The sight of a tyrannosaurus feeding once more under a modern sky ignited awe and horror in equal measure. Predators awakened more questions than answers. How intelligent were they? How social? Evidence from fossils hinted at pack behavior in some species, solitary hunting in others. Observations of living raptors suggested cooperation, communication through calls and gestures. Tyrannosaurs, once thought to be solitary killers, displayed moments of interaction that suggested more complex social structures. Scientists debated, but the creatures themselves offered only glimpses, fragments of truth hidden in their behavior. Safety became the central concern. Herbivores could be managed, their size and power contained within reserves. Predators were different. A single raptor escaping a fence could cause chaos in nearby communities. A tyrannosaurus loose in farmland or cities would be catastrophic. Measures were tightened, double fences, tranquilizer teams on standby, tracking collars implanted under skin. Still, accidents happened. Raptors tested fences with claws and teeth, learning weaknesses. Storms knocked down barriers. Once, a young predator slipped free and killed livestock before being recaptured. Each incident fueled fear, each escape a reminder that containment was never perfect. Ethics sharpened the debate. Had humanity gone too far? It was one thing to resurrect herbivores, creatures that inspired awe without significant threat. Predators were different. Their very nature was to kill, to test, to dominate. Critics argued they should never have been created. Supporters countered that to resurrect dinosaurs selectively was to distort the truth of the past. Predators were part of the balance, part of the story. Without them, the age of dinosaurs could never be fully reborn. Public reactions split. Some watched broadcasts of hunting raptors and feeding tyrannosaurs with fascination, calling it the greatest scientific achievement of all time. Others protested outside laboratories and reserves, demanding an end to what they saw as reckless experiments. Fear spread through communities near reserves, where the distant roars of predators carried across the night. And yet, the predators themselves cared nothing for debates. They lived as they always had, hunting, stalking, testing, surviving. Their instincts had not faded with time. When prey was scarce, they grew restless, aggressive. When threatened, they struck with ferocity. When confined, they searched relentlessly for escape. Their awakening was not just a triumph of science, but a reminder of nature's indifference to human control. Scientists began to study their intelligence more deeply. Raptors solved puzzles designed to test problem-solving skills, manipulating objects to reach food. Tyrannosaurs displayed memory, returning to places where prey had been found before. Their brains, though small compared to mammals, were efficient, wired for survival in ways that unnerved their observers. The more they were studied, the clearer it became. These were not mindless beasts, but creatures with awareness, strategy, and adaptability. Introducing predators reshaped the very identity of the project. What began as a scientific pursuit became something far larger, an experiment with the forces of life and death themselves. The hatchlings, once celebrated as miracles, were now part of ecosystems filled with tension, where every life was balanced against another's death. The predators had returned, and with them came the full weight of the Mesozoic. But balance is fragile. Too few predators and prey multiply unchecked. Too many and prey collapse. Reserves became arenas of constant adjustment, humans stepping in as referees of ancient cycles. Feedings were controlled, populations monitored, territories limited. But true ecosystems resist control, and predators do not play by human rules. The awakening of predators also revealed something deeper. Awe is not only born of size or strangeness, it is born of danger. To see a tyrannosaurus feed, to hear the shrieks of prey beneath its jaws, is to feel fear mixed with fascination. Humanity has always been drawn to predators, from lions to sharks, not because they are safe, but because they are not. Dinosaurs magnify that allure beyond measure. Yet awe can turn to terror. The thought of predators escaping reserves haunted the public. Governments debated whether to shut projects down, to euthanize dangerous species, to retreat from the brink. But by then, the predators were alive, and once alive, life resists erasure. Each roar, each hunt, each hatchling, born from an egg, ensured they were part of Earth again. The predators have awakened, and in their eyes there is no awe, no fear, no debate. There is only hunger, instinct, and survival. To them, this is not a return. It is simply life continuing as it always has. The world watches with breathless fascination. For months, the return of herbivores filled headlines with images of giants grazing under modern skies, their shadows sweeping across engineered plains. But it was the predators, the raptors with their cunning eyes, the tyrannosaurus with its bone-crushing jaws that awakened something deeper in the human psyche. Awe and fear, bound together like two sides of the same coin, spread across every continent, every community, every mind. All comes first. Billions tune into broadcasts showing herds of triceratops moving in formation, the camera panning upward to reveal sauropods towering against the horizon, their necks swaying like living skyscrapers. Children press their faces to screens, wide-eyed, their imaginations fired by the sight of creatures they once saw only in books or films. In classrooms, teachers use live footage to explain evolution, extinction, and the fragility of ecosystems. Museums swell with visitors eager to connect fossils with flesh. Humanity, for the first time, sees not just bones, but breathing giants, and wonder spreads like wildfire. In reserves, observation platforms fill with tourists. Families stand shoulder to shoulder, pointing as stegosaurs fan their plates in the sun, as raptors dart between shadows, as tyrannosaurs rear their heads and roar, the sound reverberating through steel and bone. Tears streak the faces of some who never dreamed they would see such creatures alive. Others laugh nervously, unable to decide whether they are in the presence of miracles or monsters. Awe transforms ordinary days into moments etched permanently into memory. But alongside awe, fear grows. The same roars that inspire wonder echo too far beyond reserves, carried on the wind into nearby towns. Farmers hear them in the night, their livestock unsettled, their children restless with nightmares. When a storm topples fences and a raptor escapes, killing sheep before it is recaptured, panic spreads faster than facts. Whispers of danger become headlines. Predator loose, the news declares, and suddenly the miracle feels like menace. Fear is not always rational. Even in places far from reserves, people begin reporting strange noises, claiming to see shadows that resemble dinosaurs in forests or fields. Paranoia seeps into communities. Governments receive demands to shut projects down, while corporations see opportunity to expand them further. The world splits, divided between those who see dinosaurs as a triumph of science and those who see them as an omen of disaster. Scientists themselves are not immune. Many who once wept at the sight of hatchlings now lie awake at night, uneasy about the consequences of their work. They watch as raptors solve puzzles in laboratories, as tyrannosaurs stalk prey with chilling efficiency, and they wonder whether they have crossed a line from curiosity into hubris. Awe keeps them pushing forward. Fear forces them to ask if they should. The contrast between awe and fear becomes clearest in children. For them, dinosaurs are magic. They draw them in crayons, wear them on shirts, beg parents to take them to see the creatures in person. Their joy is unclouded, their wonder pure. But parents, watching from behind, feel something different. They feel responsibility, worry, the gnawing fear of what might happen if fences fail or accidents multiply. Awe fills the eyes of one generation. Fear weighs on the shoulders of another. Politicians harness both emotions. Some promise to fund more reserves, to share the miracle of dinosaurs with every citizen. Others demand shutdowns, citing safety and ethics, warning that humanity is repeating mistakes foretold in fiction. Debates rage in parliaments and congresses, fueled not only by logic, but by the primal pull of awe and fear. Media fans the flames. Documentaries present dinosaurs as wonders of evolution, miracles restored to life. Tabloids scream of monsters, killers, disasters waiting to happen. Movies quickly capitalize, dramatizing escapes and attacks, blending reality with fiction until the public cannot always separate the two. Awe fills theaters, fear fills protests, both feeding off each other in an endless cycle. And yet, beneath all debate, awe and fear coexist within every witness. To stand before a living dinosaur is to feel small, insignificant, as though time itself has bent and placed you in the presence of something greater. The beauty of feathers shimmering in sunlight, the power of muscles moving beneath scales, the sound of breath escaping colossal lungs, these things inspire reverence. But the sight of claws unsheathed, of jaws opening wide, of eyes fixed with predatory intent, these things awaken instinct, the ancient memory of prey, trembling before a hunter. Humanity's awe is intertwined with fear, for the very things that make dinosaurs wondrous are the same things that make them terrifying. Over time, fear grows sharper. The first human injuries occur. Not deaths, not yet, but accidents workers trampled by frightened stegosaurs, caretakers slashed by raptors when they misjudge behavior. Each incident becomes a headline, each headline another crack in the public's trust. Awe can blind us, but fear keeps score, and the balance begins to shift. Still, awe refuses to fade. Millions continue to flock to reserves, willing to risk danger for the chance to see living dinosaurs. Awe fills social media, feeds with images of children feeding young triceratops, with videos of sauropods silhouetted against sunsets, with recordings of tyrannosaurs roaring across valleys. People share them endlessly, unable to resist the draw. Fear may shape policy, but awe shapes culture. In laboratories, scientists continue their work, driven by both emotions. Awe fuels their determination to perfect the science, to create healthier hatchlings, to expand the range of species. Fear forces them to build stronger fences, to program drones, to patrol reserves, to develop tranquilizers strong enough to subdue giants. Every breakthrough is matched by precautions, every step forward shadowed by the possibility of collapse. The truth is that awe and fear are not enemies. They are partners, intertwined forces that have always guided humanity's relationship with the unknown. Awe pushes us to explore, to create, to resurrect. Fear warns us, restrains us, reminds us of limits. Together, they shape our choices, our debates, our destiny. The return of dinosaurs amplifies both emotions to extremes, creating a world where wonder and dread walk side by side. In the end, perhaps this is fitting. The dinosaurs themselves were creatures of awe and fear. To their prey, they were terror. To their herds, they were protection. To the earth, they were power incarnate, shaping landscapes with every step. To bring them back is to inherit those emotions, to live once more in a world where giants walk and humans must decide what it means to stand among them. And so, humanity continues to watch, continues to marvel, continues to tremble. The dinosaurs live again, and with them, awe and fear awaken within us all. When the first fossils were uncovered centuries ago, scientists could only guess how dinosaurs behaved. Skeletons revealed size and shape, but not movement, sound, or social lives. They were imagined as sluggish reptiles, dragging tails and moving with the cold indifference of crocodiles. Later, popular culture sharpened them into monsters feral, mindless engines of destruction. But fossils tell more than shapes. Nests, trackways, and bone beds whisper of herds, of parenting, of battles won and lost. And now, with dinosaurs alive again, science moves from speculation to observation. Behavior once hidden in stone reveals itself in flesh and movement. The first surprise comes from the herbivores. Herds of triceratops, once thought to wander loosely, reveal intricate social bonds. Juveniles cluster at the center, protected by adults who form defensive circles when threatened. Their communication is subtle but constant, low rumbles, head movements, nudges of horns against frills. They are not mindless grazers, but families, their behavior echoing elephants and bison. Scientists who expected simple instincts find themselves witnessing strategies of protection and care, written not in guesses, but in living reality. Stegosaurs display behaviors, both familiar and strange. Their plates, once thought purely defensive, flush with color in shifting patterns. During mating displays, males arch their backs, plates glowing with blood and sunlight, tails swinging in elaborate rituals. Rivals clash with thunderous strikes, their tail spikes whistling through the air, collisions reverberating like drums. The behavior of stegosaurs reveals not only survival, but spectacle, the use of body as communication, as symbol, as warning and invitation. The sauropods astonish with their grace. Though massive, they move with fluid precision, necks sweeping in coordinated motions as herds graze across forests. Scientists note patterns of synchronized feeding, almost choreographed movements that minimize conflict within herds. Their calls are deep, resonant vibrations that ripple through the ground as much as the air, a language of subsonic signals carried across miles. To stand among them is to feel their presence not only in sight, but in vibration, as if the earth itself speaks through them. Predators, too, defy expectations. Velociraptors, long imagined as solitary killers or chaotic packs, display startling intelligence. They hunt in coordinated groups, signaling with chirps, tail flicks, and subtle gestures. One distracts while others flank, strategies unfolding with precision that recalls wolves more than reptiles. Their eyes track not only prey, but each other, awareness passing like invisible threads binding them together. Studies show memory, learning, even teaching juveniles mimic elders, failing at first, but improving as they observe. They are not monsters, but thinkers, small-brained yet astonishingly capable. Tyrannosaurus, the icon of terror, proves more complex than imagined. Once believed to be a solitary killer, evidence suggests family structures. Juveniles trail adults, learning to hunt through observation, feeding on scraps from kills. When they roar, it is not only aggression, but communication calls that carry across valleys, summoning mates, warning rivals, or coordinating with kin. Their feeding habits reveal patience as well as power, waiting for opportunities rather than rushing blindly. Tyrannosaurs reveal themselves not as mindless destroyers, but as apex predators shaped by intelligence and strategy. Such behaviors blur the line between instinct and emotion, raising questions about consciousness and awareness in creatures long thought beyond such complexity. Scientists scramble to record, catalog, and interpret. Drones hover above herds. Cameras capture every gesture. Sensors track vibrations and calls. Data pours into computers, revealing patterns of communication, hierarchies, rituals. Entire fields of study emerge overnight. Dinosaur ethology, the science of behavior in creatures once gone. Every discovery rewrites textbooks. Every observation expands understanding. But behavior also brings danger. Predators test boundaries, not out of malice, but instinct. Raptors coordinate attempts to probe fences, working together in ways chillingly familiar to those who study their hunts. Tyrannosaurs investigate vehicles, nudging with jaws powerful enough to crush steel, not from aggression, but curiosity. Accidents result when human caretakers misinterpret signals, taking silence for calm, ignoring subtle warnings before sudden charges. Studying behavior becomes not only science, but survival. Cultural perceptions shift. Once portrayed as monsters, dinosaurs gain depth in the public eye. Documentaries highlight family bonds, social rituals, communication. Children watch triceratops, mothers shielding young, or raptors teaching juveniles, and see not horror, but kinship. Debates ignite. Should these creatures be considered animals or something more? Are they property or beings with rights, capable of relationships and experiences beyond instinct? Behavior also challenges control. Humans plan to manage populations through feeding, fences, and tranquilizers. But living dinosaurs resist neat management. They form alliances, adapt to strategies, learn patterns. Attempts to corral herds fail when sauropods anticipate barriers. Raptors change hunting grounds after repeated interventions. Tyrannosaurs remember tranquilizer teams, reacting aggressively when they reappear. Behavior is not static, but dynamic, forcing humans into constant adaptation. Some researchers begin to argue for coexistence rather than control. If dinosaurs think, learn, and bond, then treating them as exhibits dishonors their reality. They propose reserves, managed not as cages, but as partnerships where humans observe and adapt rather than dictate. Skeptics scoff, warning that predators cannot be partners. But the evidence of behavior grows stronger, and the debate intensifies. Beyond science, behavior reshapes culture. Artists paint scenes of dinosaur families. Writers craft stories of communication across species. Musicians compose symphonies inspired by their calls. Awe deepens not only from size and power, but from recognition that these creatures are not so alien, not so distant. Their behaviors remind us of ourselves, of instincts we share, of bonds that cross millions of years. But fear lingers. Behavior that reveals intelligence also reveals danger. Raptors that learn can outsmart. Tyrannosaurs that remember can retaliate. Herds that bond can resist manipulation. Awe and empathy mix uneasily with anxiety. Behavior makes dinosaurs more relatable, but also more unpredictable. Dinosaurs are no longer symbols of extinction, nor monsters of imagination. They are beings with instincts, intelligence, and perhaps even emotions. Their behavior revisited is not just discovery, it is revelation. Fossils gave us bones. Living dinosaurs give us stories. And those stories reshape how we see not only them, but ourselves. For in their movements, in their calls, in their bonds, we glimpse reflections of our own lives. And in those reflections, awe deepens, fear sharpens, and responsibility grows heavier.